some of the funniest fake Minecraft speedruns because these speedrunners are absolutely terrible at hiding the fact that they're literally cheating. This speedrunner starts by loading into the world where immediately we see a village on the left side of their screen, which, if you ask me, is a very good start for a speedrun. Well, the speedrunner immediately heads inside of the village and enters a house where they find a chest that has some pretty normal loot, like bread, apples, and some seeds. Nothing that is too suspicious yet. Well, the speedrunner takes the apples and the bread, but hold on just a second. Do you see that? Well, if we look inside their inventory, we can see that they have an iron pickaxe, but the chest did not have an iron pickaxe inside of it, and whenever they started the speedrun, they had no items. So where the heck did they get this iron pickaxe from? Well, if we rewind the footage and then play it again from right here, we can see that as they walked inside the house, they picked up an iron pickaxe, which means that before they began the speedrun, they likely took an iron pickaxe and threw it in the corner of the house and hoped that we wouldn't notice. And if I'm being completely honest, they almost got away with it. But once a speedrunner finishes looting the chest, they exit the house and begin mining some wood. They then find an iron golem, which they of course smack it and then build straight up. But the iron golem somehow does parkour to hit the speedrunner down. Okay, since when could iron golems do parkour? There must have been a new update. Well, now that the speedrunner is a little low, they build right back up and kill the iron golem, which drops them 3 iron ingots. The speedrunner then explores more of the village where they suddenly find another iron golem. But hold on just a second. Villages can only spawn 1 iron golem, so the fact that there is another iron golem here is actually very confusing. Well, the speedrunner kills this iron golem, and they now have 6 iron ingots. But guess what? The speedrunner finds another iron golem. Okay, something tells me that the speedrunner went inside of creative mode and placed a bunch of iron golems inside of this village, because I have never seen more than 1 iron golem in a village in my entire life. Well, the speedrunner kills this iron golem as well, and now that they have 9 iron ingots, they explore the village some more to try and find a crafting table. But hold on just a second. Did you see that? Well, if I rewind the footage and then pause it right here, we can see what appears to be an armadillo. But what is an armadillo doing inside of a random village? Because this mob can only spawn inside of the swamp biome, so one being right here is physically impossible. Well, the speedrunner completely ignores the armadillo and enters a house where they find a chest that has some normal loot and also a crafting table. The speedrunner then crafts himself an iron sword and also an iron helmet. They then break the crafting table, and then for some odd reason, the speedrunner leaves the village and starts heading in a completely random direction. But hold on just a second. You see, I only have 11 subscribers, and it's always been my goal to one day reach 12 subscribers. So if you could subscribe, that would genuinely mean so much to me. Well, as they're wandering in a random direction, they of course find a ruined portal. And as they get closer, we can see that the ruined portal is already fully constructed, which is physically impossible. And this already finished ruined portal isn't even the fakest part about this speedrun, because what the speedrunner does at the end is absolutely insane. Well, the speedrunner loots the ruined portal chest where they find some normal loot, like a fire charge, a golden shovel, and some golden pants. All loot that is actually normal. They take everything out of the chest and light the nether portal with their fire charge. They then break the golden block and head into the portal. And once they're in the nether, they open up their coordinates and begin looking around, which is actually a pro speedrunner strategy to try and find entities inside of the nether. But something tells me that the speedrunner has no idea what they're actually doing, because they begin heading in a completely random direction. But hold on just a second. Did you see that? Well, the speedrunner has been heading in a random direction, right? Well, actually no, because we can see what appears to be a glowstone path that they seem to be following. And they continue following this glowstone path, which leads them directly to the nether fortress. Okay, this has got to be the fakest speedrun I think I've ever seen. screen. Well, now that the speedrunner has finally found the Nether fortress. Wait, what the heck? Did you see that? 1 second ago, the Nether fortress was completely empty. But if I play the footage from here very slowly, we can see that there was a sudden cut where a bunch of blazes randomly spawned. But cutting a part out of your speedrun is actually against the rules of speedrunning, which means that this speedrun is completely fake. Well, the speedrunner heads into the fortress and begins killing the blazes. But for some reason, the blazes aren't moving. And if I'm being completely honest, I have no idea how they're doing this. So if you know how they did this, then please let me know, because I am so confused. Well, the speedrunner goes around the entire fortress, killing a bunch of blazes. And other than the blazes not moving, nothing looks too suspicious. But hold on just a second. Did you see that? Well, in case you didn't, then here, I'll show you. If we rewind the footage and then pause it right here, we can see what appears to be a repeating command block directly below their feet. And the only way that you can get a command block is if you were inside of creative. But why would the speedrunner need a command block for a speedrun? Well, the speedrunner kills 2 more blazes where they open up their inventory and we can see that they have 2 stacks of ender pearls. But if we look at any point during the speedrun, we can see that the speedrunner never picked up any ender pearls, which means that this command block likely gave the speedrunner the ender pearls, which once again is against the rules of speedrunning. Well, now that the speedrunner has 6 blaze rods and 2 stacks of ender pearls, they make themselves 12 eyes of ender. They then begin making their way all the way back towards their portal, and once they're in the overworld, they throw their eye of ender and then begin heading in that direction. Wait, what the heck? Are we serious right now? The speedrunner went from running in a plains biome to magically being inside of the stronghold. But how is this possible? Well, if you ask me, I think that the speedrunner had someone teleport them inside of the stronghold, which once again is against the rules of speedrun. Well, now that the speedrunner is inside of the stronghold, they begin placing in all of their eyes of ender. But if I pause it right here, there's actually something about this frame here that is completely fake. Because if we look right here, we can see what appears to be a player just standing there, which is very weird. And once they're in the end, we can immediately see something that is fake. That obviously being this invisible staircase ladder. Well, the speedrunner climbs the ladder, and once they're on the main island, they place down their bed and wait for the ender dragon to purge. And once it does, the speedrunner clicks on their bed and blows themselves up. Okay, that speedrun was genuinely just embarrassing. This speedrunner starts by loading into the world, where immediately we can see a village. But that's not all. We can also see a shipwreck on the side of the screen. And these 2 structures being this close to each other means that the speedrunner got insanely lucky. But already we can see something that is actually fake about this speedrun. And no, it's not the village, and it's also not the shipwreck either. But instead, it's actually this piece of redstone right here. Because redstone dust can actually only be found inside of jungle temples. And this is clearly not a jungle temple, which means the speedrunner probably placed this down themselves, which I think we're gonna see why they placed this down very soon into the speedrun. Well, the speedrunner immediately makes their way over towards the village, and once they arrive at the village, once again, we can see something that is fake. And in case you haven't noticed it, then here, I'll show you. Right in front of them is a villager's house, and if you look closely at the door, it's already open. But the thing is, whenever villagers open doors, they always close them behind them, which means this door should not be open. Well, the speedrunner enters the house and listen closely to what they say.
Let's see. Ooh, nice chest. Alright. Oh, okay. We got some bread, some emeralds, and some apples. I love all of this loot.
The speedrunner got some pretty average loot, like emeralds, potatoes, bread, and apples. All things that normally spawn inside of this village chest. But hang on just a second. If we rewind the footage and then play it again from right here, whenever they hover their mouse above the apple, we can see that it says redstone apple, which is very weird because redstone apples are not in normal Minecraft. So I'm very confused how they were somehow able to craft a redstone apple. Well, now that the speedrunner has some loot, they begin breaking the house for some wood. But just listen to what they say.
Now I need some wood. Give me that wood. Yeah, give me that wood. Yeah. Give me that wood.
Yeah, this speedrunner might be a little bit of a weirdo. But once they gathered 3 logs, they used the wood to make a crafting table and some sticks. They then used the crafting table to make a wooden axe.
A wooden axe. I love axes. axes more like taxes. Am I right, guys? I love taxes.
Axes more like taxes? Is this speedrunner serious? Okay, well, now that the speedrunner has a wooden axe, they use it to actually kill the iron golem. But once again, I just want you to listen to the speedrunner.
Excuse me, iron golem. Hold that real quick. That little silly iron golem. You so silly, iron golem. Oh, did he give up? Are you okay, iron golem? Oh, okay, he's coming. Alright, we'll just go right there. Alright, come on, iron golem. Oh my god, this guy's a slowpoke. Are you serious? Boom. 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 Boom.
Well, after hitting the iron golem 13 times, yes, I actually did count, they gained 3 iron. The speedrunner, of course, uses that iron to make themselves an iron pickaxe, but they also decide to craft something else. And if I'm being completely honest, this next part is absolutely crazy. Well, just watch it for yourself.
Alright, what else should I make with what I have? I need a better weapon. I'll just make like an emerald sword. It's pretty good loot, I would say so myself.
Are we serious? An emerald sword? I've never seen a speedrunner make an emerald sword before. So how is this possible? Well, if I'm being completely honest, much like the redstone apples, I believe that the speedrunner might be using a mod, because redstone apples are not in Minecraft, nor is an emerald sword. So I'm pretty sure something fishy is going on here. Well, now that the speedrunner has some questionable items, they break the crafting table and begin making their way towards the shipwreck that we saw earlier in the speedrun. But wait just a second. You see, I'm trying to reach 200,000 subscribers, so if you could subscribe, that would genuinely mean a lot to me. Something about this frame right here is actually fake. And if I'm being completely honest, it's very, very obvious. So I'm sure that you saw it. But in case you didn't, if we zoom in right here, we can actually see what appears to be a green piece of wool, which at first is very confusing because why would they randomly place a piece of wool right here? But you'll see why they did this very, very soon. Well, the speedrunner jumps into the water and swims over towards the shipwreck. And now that the speedrunner is at the shipwreck, just listen to what they say.
Alright, I hate when shipwrecks have like terrible loot. I'm gonna be completely honest here. Alright, let's see. Okay, a chest. Oh my goodness, no way. That's such good loot. Yes, let's go. Holy diamonds and iron and gold and iron.
The shipwreck had very good loot, and we can even see that the speedrunner gained the advancement diamonds inside chest, which means that the speedrunner probably found this completely normally, which means that this loot could actually be legit. Well, now that the speedrunner has some pretty good loot, they swim back over towards land, where they once again place down their crafting table and make themselves an iron helmet, a diamond axe, and 1 golden ingot. But wait, this next part is extremely suspicious, so I'm gonna let you just watch it for yourself.
Alright, I am gonna need just a few blocks for my speedrun later, because obviously every speedrunner needs blocks and stuff. That's usually how it goes, you already know. Alright, there we go.
Did you see that? Well, the speedrunner mined the green wool that we saw earlier, but why did they randomly mine a green piece of wool? Well, right now, it's not gonna make any sense, but you'll see why they did this very, very soon. But once they mine the green piece of wool, they immediately find a ruined portal. And once they arrive at the ruined portal, watch very carefully for what happens.
Alright, let's see what we got here. Oh my goodness, there's crying obsidian everywhere. Okay, that's pretty good loot. I cannot lie. That is actually pretty good loot.
Did you see that? Well, once they open up the chest, we can see their entire inventory. And inside of it, we can see a flint and steel. But if we rewind 1 minute ago, we can see that the speedrunner never had a flint and steel. So where did they get this? Well, remember when they were mining the green piece of wool? I believe that underneath the green piece of wool was actually a flint and steel. That's why whenever the speedrunner broke the wool, they never looked down so that way we could see what they picked up. And if I'm being completely honest, they almost got away with it. But once they finish looting the ruined portal chest, just watch what they do next, because this next part is absolutely insane.
Wait, can I finish the portal with this? Let's see. Oh my god, that was enough obsidian to finish the portal. Oh, okay, good thing I got a flint and steel earlier. I can just light this now. Yep, there we go, perfect. We're headed into the nether, let's go.
Are we serious right now? The ruined portal had crying obsidian all over for it, and you cannot light a nether portal if there's crying obsidian. So how did the speedrunner do this? Well, if I'm completely honest, I'm not too sure. But once the speedrunner enters the nether, they look around for a little bit until they realize that they actually got a terrible nether spawn. But that doesn't matter, because what they do next is so obviously them cheating that it's genuinely hilarious. Well, just watch for yourself.
Alright, what is this spawn? This is a weird spawn. Hold on, let me eat my apple real quick. Yeah, this is very weird. Alright, I do need like a little bit of glowstone. Just a little bit like that.
We all saw that, right? But whenever the speedrunner was mining glowstone, we can see them gain the advancement into fire inside the chat. And if we pause it right here, we can see a very obvious blaze rod entering their inventory. Not only that, the speedrunner also checks their inventory, and we can see a bunch of blaze rods and ender pearls inside of their inventory. And now that the speedrunner has all the items they need to enter the end, they begin heading back towards the overworld. But just watch this next part.
Alright, let's see. So, okay, I have some ender pearls and blaze rods. Get the blaze powder, boom. Let's go. Okay, so hopefully the end fortress place is not too far away. Oh, that's over in that direction. Are we serious? Okay. That's not terrible. And it broke. Oh my goodness, I'm so unlucky. Let's head in this direction. Hopefully we have like good stuff in this direction. I'm like hoping and praying. I have no idea where this portal could be at. Like, come on. Oh my god, no way. What is that? Is that the end portal? Oh my goodness. Oh wait, I'm pretty sure in the newest update they added these new portals that could just randomly spawn.
This end portal is so obviously fake, and I even looked inside of the newest update, and they said absolutely nothing about a new ender portal spawning above ground like this. So if I'm being completely honest, this part is so obviously fake. Well, the speedrunner enters the portal anyways, and they find a chicken. How the heck did a chicken get here? Well, the speedrunner kills the chicken and throws an ender pearl over towards the main island. And now for this next part, just watch how the speedrunner kills the ender dragon, because it is absolutely hilarious.
Okay, the ender dragon is right there. What do I do? Please don't attack me. There's actually like a speedrunner strat that like not a lot of people use in their speedruns that I think I'm gonna use right here. Okay, so come here, ender dragon. Okay, ready, ender dragon? Ready? Ender dragon. And if I like crouch like 2 times, oh yeah, there we go. The ender dragon. Hey, yo, okay, whoa, enderman.
The ender dragon just disappeared. Did I see that right? And not only that, this portal right here is completely fake. But the speedrunner enters the end portal and finishes the speedrun with a time of 7 minutes and 16 seconds. Wait, what the heck is this? Directed by Tim Johnson? Wait, what? Produced by Marielle Soria, PGA, Sunzane Barugi, PGA, Christopher Jenkins, PGA? These are not the normal Minecraft credits. What is going on? So I think we're just gonna end the speedrun there. This speedrunner starts by loading into the world, where immediately we can see a desert temple that's inside of a village, which has gotta be one of the luckiest spawns I've ever seen for speedrunning. Well, the speedrunner immediately heads towards the desert temple and begins breaking their way down. Once they land inside, they begin looting all 4 chests, where they surprisingly find some pretty normal loot, like a golden apple, rotten flesh, and even bones. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Well, they finish looting all of the chests, but wait just a second. Did you see that? Well, out of nowhere, the advancement appeared inside chat called diamonds. And inside of the speedrunner's inventory, we can see 10 diamonds. And if we rewind the footage and then play it again, we can see that this literally came out of nowhere. So how is this possible? Well, the speedrunner looks straight up where we can suddenly see a chicken. But then the chicken just walks away. So did the chicken drop the diamonds? How could a chicken drop diamonds? Well, if I'm being completely honest, I am so confused. Well, the speedrunner begins building their way back up when they exit the desert temple and begin exploring more of the village. They then begin destroying some hay bales for some bread for food later in the speedrun. But hold on just a second. Did you see that? Well, if we rewind the footage and then play it again from right here, we can see a villager walk by and drop a netherite sword. But last time I checked, villagers cannot drop random items. But maybe I just missed an update. Well, the speedrunner picks up the netherite sword, and we can even see that it lost some durability, which is an even clearer sign that this is actually fake. Well, the speedrunner explores more of the village, where they eventually find a crafting table. So So they craft themselves some bread, a diamond pickaxe, and even diamond pants, which is very good loot to have at the start of a speedrun. Well, now that the speedrunner has some pretty good loot, they decide to head back towards the pyramid that they saw at the start of the speedrun. But this time, there's a nether portal. But if we look back at the footage from before, we can see that there was actually no nether portal, which means someone had to have placed this here. And I have a strange feeling that it could have been the chicken and the villager that we saw earlier in the speedrun. And I'm not gonna lie, if you think a random nether portal appearing out of nowhere is insane, then you're gonna be even more surprised for what happens at the end, because it is absolutely insane. Well, the speedrunner then decides to head inside the nether portal, and once they're in the nether, they look around for a little bit, and everything seems pretty normal. But hold on just a second. You see, these videos take a long time to make, so if you could simply subscribe, that would genuinely mean the world to me. Okay, now back to the speedrun. So they begin exploring a little bit until they find this piglin here. So the speedrunner drops 3 gold to trade with the piglin. But hold on, did you see that? Well, if we rerun the footage and pause it right here, we can see all of the chat messages. And one of them says that a player joined the game. But this is very weird, because whenever you do a speedrun, you have to make sure that you are in a single player world. And this message here clearly shows that they are in the world with another player, which is actually against the rules of speedrunning. Well, once the piglin picks up the 3 gold, the piglin turns around and starts dropping tons of ender pearls. What the heck? Okay, I think I must have missed an update, because last time I checked, piglins don't just drop ender pearls like this, which makes me believe that this is the same person that we saw being a villager earlier in the speedrun. Well, now that the speedrunner has a bunch of ender pearls, they begin heading back towards their portal. And once they're in the overworld, they begin heading back inside the village. But wait just a second. Did you see that? Well, if we look at the top left corner, we can see that the timer says 12 minutes and 36 seconds. But if we rewind the footage, we can see that the timer just said 3 minutes and 45 seconds, which means the speedrunner is either a time traveler or they're cheating. Well, once the speedrunner is back inside of the village, wait, what the heck? Do you see that? Well, if we zoom in right here, we can see what appears to be a chicken on top of an end portal. And not only that, the chicken hides behind the tree, likely indicating that this could actually be a real person and not an actual chicken. Well, the speedrunner makes her way over towards the end portal, where we can see that all of the eyes of Ender have already been placed in except for one. And of course, there's an eye of Ender right on top of it. So the speedrunner picks up the eye of Ender and places it in. And now that they're in the end, they take their ender pearl and throw it to the main island. And once it lands, we can see something that is fake. Because if you look at the top of the screen, we can see that there is no health bar for the ender dragon. But if we continue the speedrun, we can see that there actually still is an ender dragon. I have a strange feeling that this is not the real ender dragon, because earlier in the speedrun, we saw a fake piglin, a fake villager, and even a fake chicken. So something tells me that this ender dragon is also fake. Well, as they continue the speedrun, they literally just walk around and do absolutely nothing as the Ender Dragon continues flying in circles. But that's when, out of nowhere, the Ender Dragon just blows up. And we can even see a death message inside chat, which means that this Ender Dragon was actually the speedrunner's friend the entire time. Well, now that the Ender Dragon is dead, the speedrunner jumps into the portal and finishes the speedrun with a time of 14 minutes and 35 seconds. This speedrunner starts by loading into the world, where immediately we can see a pyramid and also a village, which is a very good spawn for speedrunning. The speedrunner immediately heads over towards the pyramid and begins breaking their way in. And once they land down below, we immediately see something that is fake. And in case you didn't catch it, then here, I'll show you. If we look down at their hearts, we can see that they are full HP. But if we rewind 5 seconds ago, we can see that they jumped down into the pyramid and took no fall damage, which, if you ask me, is incredibly suspicious, because any normal speedrunner would have taken fall damage here. Well, the speedrunner begins looting the pyramid, and inside of each chest they find some pretty normal loot, like sand, rotten flesh, and even diamonds. But wait just a second. If we look at the loot from every single chest and we examine it very closely, we can see that inside of every single chest there were diamonds. But not only that, the diamonds were placed directly in the middle of each chest, which is technically possible. It is just very weird. here. But the speedrunner did gain the advancement diamonds inside chat, which means that there is actually a good chance that this could be real. So the speedrunner builds their way back up, exits the pyramid, and begins making their way to the village that we saw at the start of the speedrun. But hold on just a second. If we take a closer look at the speedrunner's inventory, we can see a diamond pickaxe. But where did they get this? Because they were just inside the pyramid and they had no diamond pickaxe. Well, if we rewind the video and then play it again from right here, we can see as they exited the pyramid, they picked up a diamond pickaxe. So the speedrunner probably dropped a diamond pickaxe before the speedrun began and hoped that we wouldn't notice. Well, the speedrunner finally arrives at the desert village. But hold on just a second. Did you see that? Well, in case you didn't, if we rewind the footage and then pause it right here, we can see what appears to be a blue axolotl. But how is this possible? Because blue axolotls can only spawn inside of jungles, not inside of a desert village. And this blue axolotl isn't even the fakest part about this speedrun, because what the speedrunner does at the end is absolutely insane. Well, the speedrunner completely ignores the blue axolotl and begins exploring more of the village. But hold on just a second. This house right here is called an armor, and this is what the inside of this house typically looks like. But whenever the speedrunner enters this house, we can see that there is a chest that never spawns here, which means that there is a good chance that whatever is inside this chest is completely fake. Well, the speedrunner walks up to the chest and finds tons of iron loot, which we all know is just not legit. Well, the speedrunner takes all of the iron loot and even puts on some iron armor. They then begin exploring more of the village and even mine some hay bales for food and some beds to blow up the ender dragon later, which is actually a pro speedrunner strategy. But wait just a second. You see, I currently have 6 subscribers and it's always been my goal to one day reach 7 subscribers. So if you could help me out, that would genuinely mean the world to me. They then find a crafting table where they then craft themselves some bread, 2 iron ingots, iron pants, and an iron helmet. Well, now that the speedrunner has some pretty good loot, they begin by exploring more of the village. But wait just a second. Did you see that? Well, if I rewind the footage and pause it right here, we can see what appears to be a command block with a pressure plate on top of it. And if you know anything about Minecraft, you know that command blocks are physically impossible to get inside of survival Minecraft, which means that it is very likely that the speedrunner placed this command block down inside of creative. Well, the speedrunner looks around to make sure no one's looking, where they suddenly step on the pressure plate and wait, what the heck? Are they entering the Nether? Oh, well, I guess they're in the Nether now. And not only that, they also spawned inside of the fortress. And once again, we can see that they gain the advancements inside chat, which means that this is their first time in the Nether and their first time entering a fortress, which means that this could actually be real. Well, the speedrunner begins exploring the fortress, where they suddenly walk up to a wither skeleton, but for some reason, it's not attacking him, which, if I'm being completely honest, I have no idea how this is even possible. Well, the speedrunner decides to randomly mine into a wall where they find a golden block. But the thing is, golden blocks cannot spawn inside of fortresses, as they can only spawn inside of bastions. And this isn't the only time they do this, because once again, they mine into the wall and find another golden block. And they even do this 2 more times. Well, now that they have 4 golden blocks, they turn them into golden ingots. They then begin digging out a hole, likely to begin trading with piglins. They then place down a crafting table and make themselves golden boots. Now that they have golden boots, they explore more of the fortress and eventually find a piglin. They try pushing the piglin over towards their hole, but it just walks away. So the speedrunner then picks up the piglin. Wait, what? I had no idea that picking up a piglin was even possible. So this caught me completely off guard. And I'm not even gonna lie, if you think that picking up a piglin was insane, then you're gonna be even more surprised for what the speedrunner does at the end. Because trust me, it is absolutely insane. Well, the speedrunner places the piglin inside of their hole, and then they go around the fortress some more, finding 2 more piglins and placing each of them inside of the hole as well. They spend some time trading with the piglins, but eventually they only get 4 ender pearls, which is not enough to enter the end. Well, now that the speedrunner is out of gold, they explore more of the fortress. But hold on just a second. Did you see that? Well, if we zoom into their hotbar, we can see that they have 16 ender pearls. But whenever they were trading with the piglins, they only had 4. So where did they magically get 12 ender pearls? Well, if we rewind the footage and play it again from right here, we can see a sudden cut where the speedrunner magically gained 12 ender pearls. So I believe that the speedrunner went inside of creative mode and gave themselves ender pearls, but just cut it out of the speedrun, which is against the rules of speedrunning. Well, now that the speedrunner has all of the ender pearls they need, they begin looking for blazes. They begin killing a bunch of random blazes, but sadly they only have one blaze rod. But then out of nowhere, the speedrunner randomly looks at the floor and now they have 20 blaze rods. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this is just embarrassing at this point. Just like what they did with the ender pearls, they just gave themselves more blaze rods, which once again is against the rules of speedrunning. Well, now that the speedrunner technically has everything they need to enter the end, they begin making their way back towards the Nether portal. Now, once they're in the overworld, they turn their blaze rods into blaze powder and make themselves 12 eyes of ender. They then throw their eye of ender and they begin heading in that direction. But hold on just a second. Did you see that? Well, if we rewind the footage and pause it right here, we can see a bunch of random stone brick, which is the same exact material that is used for the Stronghold. Well, the speedrunner drops down into the hole and what the heck is that? It's just a floating end portal? I am so confused. Well, I guess the speedrunner enters the end, and once they're in the end, they look around for a little bit, and I'm not gonna lie, everything looks pretty normal. The ender dragon has full health, and they don't even gain any random new items. But they do sit here for a few seconds when out of nowhere they begin flying? Are we serious right now? Well, the speedrunner flies over to the main island, and now that the speedrunner apparently had fly hacks this entire time, it should be very easy for them to kill the ender dragon. Well, the speedrunner places down some blocks at the portal, but the ender dragon is taking a while to perch. So the speedrunner gets impatient and just starts flying over to the ender dragon, hitting it over and over again until eventually the ender dragon perches, and the speedrunner flies around hitting the ender dragon when suddenly the speedrunner just dies. Even with hacks, the speedrunner still could not kill the ender dragon. That speedrun was so embarrassing. This speedrunner starts inside of a plains biome, and we can also see what appears to be a village on the right side of the screen, which is actually a pretty lucky spawn, especially for a speedrun. But that's not all, just listen to what the speedrunner says.
Oh my god. Oh, is that another portal? Oh my god, right next to a village? That's literally so lucky.
The speedrunner is actually right. This is a very lucky spawn, which makes the speedrun start out very, very suspicious. Well, the speedrunner makes her way towards another portal when this happens.
Hopefully, the Nether portal has like super good loot. Oh my goodness, a chest?
But wait, before they open the chest, did you see that? Well, if we rewind the footage and pause it here, there are 2 diamond blocks in this ruin portal, and a normal ruin portal always has 1 gold block. So something leads me to believe that the speedrunner built this portal themselves. But that's not all, because what they find inside the chest is absolutely crazy.
My goodness, a chest? Oh, enchanted golden apple! Oh my goodness, I got so lucky! Oh, my loot now.
Okay, enchanted golden apples are extremely lucky, I can't lie. But at the same time, this is very possible that this is legit, so I have no proof that this part of the speedrun is fake.
I have enough obsidian to build the portal, and boom! Oh, but wait, I can't break the crying obsidian. Well, whatever.
Since the speedrunner can't break the crying obsidian, they make their way towards the village.
Alright, let's see if the village has any good loot for me. Oh my goodness, a blacksmith? Oh, what the heck? There's no loot inside a blacksmith? Oh my goodness, whatever. Stupid villager blacksmith.
You see, this part is very weird considering these chests always have loot inside of them. But why would the speedrunner take all of the loot out of the chest? Well, I'm not too sure. But the speedrunner does need food, so they begin by destroying the villager's farm. But what happens next is very, very weird.
Alright, I need food, so I need to get all of the beetroots. That way I cannot be hungry at all, ever again. Hello, Mr. Villager. Hello. Get out of here. Stupid villager, you little dumb villager.
Did you see that? Well, in case you didn't, let me rewind the footage and pause it here. We can see a player dressed up in a cow costume inside of a pen with other cows. And at first, I didn't even notice him. But the weirdest part is that cows cannot even spawn inside of the plains biome, because everybody knows that they can only spawn inside of snowy biome. So a cow being here in the first place is completely impossible. Well, the speedrunner ignores the cow and begins looting more of the village.
Alright, hopefully the other houses actually have good loot because I literally need good loot to beat the speedrun.
But wait just a second. You see, it's always been my dream to one day reach 100,000 subscribers, and I am currently 84% of the way there. So if you would like to help me become one step closer towards my dream, then please consider subscribing.
Alright, test. Oh my goodness, only 4 apples? Are you serious? Only 4 apples? Oh, stupid, dumb, stupid villager house. So stupid.
But wait, did you see that? The speedrunner is holding an iron pickaxe. But if you look at the footage from 10 seconds ago, they did not have an iron pickaxe. And the chest only had apples. So where did they get an iron pickaxe? Well, if we rewind the footage back when they were looting the chest, the window on their left suddenly breaks, and we can see someone throw an iron pickaxe for the speedrunner, which I have a weird feeling could have been the cow that we saw earlier. But we can't physically see the cows, so it's only speculation. The speedrunner then decides that they're gonna go back towards the ruined portal until something very, very weird happens.
Well, at least I have an iron pickaxe so I can go mine the diamonds in the portal because I got super lucky and that it's diamonds and not gold. Alright, diamonds, prepare to not be diamonds anymore and to prepare going with my inventory.
But wait just a second. Do you see what I see? Well, if you don't, here, I'll show you. Earlier in the speedrun, there was crying obsidian. And if you look at the portal now, there is no crying obsidian. But we never watched the speedrunner break the crying obsidian to begin with. And that's not even the craziest part. Just watch what happens next.
I'm pretty sure I left flint and steel in here earlier. Oh, I did. Oh my, thank goodness gracious that I left that in there for that one that is for.
The chest somehow had a flint and steel, but earlier the speedrunner took every single item out of the chest, so something isn't adding up. The speedrunner lights the nether portal and enters the nether, and says this.
Oh my goodness, I'm in the nether! Wait, what the heck? This is a terrible nether spawn! Oh, wait a minute. No way! I spawned at a ruined portal! That's literally so lucky! Hopefully this ruined portal just has a super good loot. Oh my god, I got diamond boots and gold? Oh, I got speedy boots? Oh my goodness!
Speedy boots? Are you kidding me? You see, it's impossible to find golden boots that have a name that's not golden boots. So how does a speedrunner find boots that say speedy boots? I'm not too sure. Well, the speedrunner equips these golden boots and begins zooming around the map until something unexpected happens.
I'm literally so fast! I'm so fast! Oh my goodness! The speed is so fast and so quick! Oh wait! Oh my god! No! Oh my goodness, if I didn't have that enchanted golden apple, I would probably be dead. Wait, but where am I?
The speedrunner accidentally fell into the lava with only a half a heart to spare. So it's a good thing they had that enchanted golden apple. But now that they're in a weird place, this is very, very suspicious. I mean, just watch what happens next.
Oh my god, is that a piglet? Oh my god, it's the piglin! Wait, do I have gold? Oh, I have 7 gold! Here you go. Is that enough for super good loot? Oh my goodness, ender eyes! Oh my goodness, 9 ender eyes! You wanna give me one more, please? Thank you! Thank you! Oh my goodness, thank you so much, Mr. Piglin. Thank you so much, Mr. Piglin. Here's a hay bale just for you.
Wow, that was pretty nice of the speedrunner to give the piglin a hay bale. But seriously, there is no way the speedrunner expected anyone to believe that this was real. And also, piglins cannot even drop Eyes of Ender, as they can only drop Ender Pearls. But the craziest part has still yet to come.
Alright, wait a minute, but how am I gonna get out of here? I guess I'm just, oh my goodness, is that the nether portal? Oh, that's literally so lucky.
The speedrunner found an already lit nether portal, which is physically impossible to find in normal Minecraft. So someone definitely went in here and just placed down a whole nether portal before they began the speedrun.
Oh my goodness, wait a minute. Am I in the Stronghold?
There is no way that Nether portal led them to the Stronghold. I refuse to believe it. But wait a minute, I just realized something. If we look at this frame right here and look a little closer at the Nether portal, we can see that the Nether portal's teleportation area is 3 blocks wide, when a normal Nether portal is only 2 blocks wide, which means that this portal was built by a person and not naturally generated. But that's not even the most fake part of this speedrun.
What the heck? That's literally so lucky. Wait a minute. Oh my goodness. I have 10 eyes of ender and I need exactly 10. Oh my goodness. That piglin was literally so nice that he did that for me. That was literally like the nicest thing that I think I've ever seen a piglin do in like my whole entire life of my entire life.
The speedrunner had 10 eyes of ender, which was the exact amount that they needed, which by itself is very suspicious. But you know what's even more suspicious that I bet you didn't see is that if we rewind the footage and then pause it here, something about this frame right here is completely fake. And if you haven't seen it yet, here, I'll show you. On the right side of the screen, we see someone with a black skin crouching. I reviewed this speedrun 6 separate times without ever noticing that someone was right there. Well, now that the speedrunner finished the portal, they jump in and say this.
Oh my goodness, that's a long fall. Time for me to do hay bale clutch. I saw Dream do that one time like long ago and then he hay bale clutch, so I don't know how to do it.
But wait, I want you to subscribe if you think that they're gonna fail it, and like the video if you think they're gonna do it first try. Okay, well here's what happened.
And hiya! What the heck? Okay, I was literally like lagging. I would have had it if I wasn't lagging, so that's the only reason why I didn't do it is because I was lagging.
Yeah, of course they completely failed the hay bale clutch, because let's be honest, everyone saw that coming. Okay, the speedrunners said that they were lagging, but let's be honest, they're just bad at hay bale clutching. And they failed, so if you saw them fail that hay bale clutch, that means you have to subscribe. Also, this part coming up is the craziest part of this entire speedrun.
Alright, and boom. Wait a minute. Where the heck is the Ender Dragon at? Ender Dragon! Oh, Ender Dragon! Oh, there's the Ender Dragon! Oh my goodness, Ender Dragon! Get down here and fight me, Ender Dragon! I'm gonna beat the Ender Dragon up with my shovel. It's perching, it's perching, it's perching! Hiya! Die, Dragon, die! Ah, he got me, but he won't get me next time. Get down here, Ender Dragon! You're not gonna win this one! Hiya! Hiya, Ender Dragon, die! Get back here, Ender Dragon! I'm the most bestest. I'm better than Dream. Get over here, Ender Dragon! Ender Dragon! Ender Dragon?
There is no way that the Ender Dragon just died of fall damage. And also, let's be honest, that was just clearly their friend flying around with an elytra, and not the real Ender Dragon. Well, now that the speedrunner has slain the Ender Dragon, they jump into the portal and finish the speedrun with a time of 7 minutes and 35 seconds. This speedrunner loads into the world, and immediately we see a desert temple and also a desert village out in the distance, which is a very good spawn for a speedrun. But we can already tell that something is fake. You see, if you look at the coordinates in the top left, they are not at 0, 0, which means that this is not a normal spawn. Well, the speedrunner immediately heads towards the pyramid, and they begin digging their way down. Once at the bottom, they loot all 4 chests that all have completely normal loot, but each chest does have 1 diamond each, which is incredibly suspicious, but it's not impossible. But once the speedrunner finishes looting the pyramid, they begin building and breaking their way out of the pyramid. And once they exit the pyramid, they begin making their way towards the village. But wait just a second. Did you say that? Well, in case you didn't, if we rewind the footage and then pause it here, we can see what appears to be a strider. But you see, striders can only spawn inside of snowy biome, which means a strider being here is completely impossible. Well, as the speedrunner starts heading towards the village, they break some dead bushes, which gives them a few sticks, which is actually a thing that a lot of pro speedrunners tend to do. So this part seems pretty legit. Well, the speedrunner arrives at the village, but wait, I just now noticed something that I didn't notice before. And in case you haven't noticed it either, here, I'll show you. You see, on the left side of the screen, we can see a player trying to blend in with the sand in the background. And whenever you're speedrunning, you have to make sure that you're in a single player world. So if they're playing with another person, then this immediately makes the speedrun completely fake. And whenever the speedrunner gets inside one of the village's houses, we can see the speedrunner's friend change their skin inside chat. And you're not gonna believe what they do next. Well, the speedrunner breaks the crafting table and then finds a chest that has some iron and some bread. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Well, the speedrunner places down their crafting table, and then they make themselves an iron pickaxe and diamond boots. The speedrunner then breaks the crafting table and then starts exploring more of the village. But wait just a second. Did you see what I just saw? Well, in case you didn't, if we rewind the footage and then play the video from here, we can see a villager walk right by them. Except this isn't a normal villager, as I'm pretty sure this is the speedrunner's friend that we saw earlier trying to blend in with the sand. And at first, I didn't even notice that this was a fake villager. Well, the speedrunner explores more of the village and then starts breaking some hay bales. They also start mining some potatoes, where once again we can see this fake villager that we saw earlier. And if you think that this villager is fake, just see what they do next. Well, the speedrunner breaks all of the potatoes, and then we suddenly see a pressure plate on the ground. But the only thing is that pressure plates do not naturally spawn, as they can only be crafted. And of course, the speedrunner steps on the pressure plate, where they suddenly get launched 800 blocks into the sky. But wait just a minute. You see, I only have 32 subscribers, and I really want to reach 33. So if just one of you subscribe, then I could finally reach my dream of 33 subscribers. But when they eventually start falling back down, they're in a completely different area. Because before they were in a desert, and now we can see them in a plains biome. But how could they have possibly done this? Well, I'm not too sure. But the speedrunner falls back down and lands in some water. And once they get out of the water, they then find a ruin portal that is only missing one piece of obsidian. So the speedrunner loots the ruin portal chest, which has a flint and steel, a piece of gold, a golden chest plate, and one obsidian, of course. Well, the speedrunner places in the one obsidian and lights the nether portal. Once they load into the nether, we can see that they spawn right next to a nether fortress. But if we play the video for 5 more seconds, we can see that this is clearly not a normal nether fortress. So I'm pretty sure the speedrunner just went inside a creative and built their own nether fortress, which in case you're new to Minecraft is just simply not legit. Well, the speedrunner goes up the staircase, where they suddenly find a piglin. Something about this piglin tells me that it's not real, and you'll see why I say this in just a sec. Well, the speedrunner opens up their inventory, grabs a piece of gold, and drops it to the piglin. The piglin, of course, examines the gold and drops them an enchanted diamond sword. Okay, this is obviously fake, but that's not even the craziest part, because you see, the diamond sword has sharpness 3000. I didn't even know that was an enchantment inside of Minecraft. Well, the speedrunner walks away from the piglin and goes outside, where they find a blaze. Guys, am I the only one seeing that this is clearly not a real blaze? Well, the very real blaze attacks the speedrunner, and then the speedrunner just one-hits it. And the blaze, of course, drops blaze rods. But how many blaze rods? Well, let's see. The blaze dropped a stack of blaze rods, because of course. Well, the speedrunner now has all of the blaze rods that they need, so they leave the nether, and once they're back in the overworld, they go around in circles for a little bit until they suddenly start dropping down below into a cave. Now, when I watched this part for the first time, I was very confused, because why would the speedrunner go inside of a completely random cave? Well, you'll see why they do this in just a moment. Well, the speedrunner drops down below, and we can see what appears to be a stone brick tunnel, which if you know anything about Minecraft, you know that stone brick usually means that it's a stronghold. But the only problem is that they're at Y level 38, and strongholds can only appear at Y level 16 or below, which makes this part of the speedrun completely fake. Well, the speedrunner walks towards the stronghold and mines their way in, and that's when we can see that the end portal is already lit, and it's made out of diamonds and amethyst. Guys, how is this even possible? Everybody knows that end portals are made from end frames and not diamonds, which confirms that this part of the speedrun is very, very fake. Well, the speedrunner begins to jump into the portal, but wait, do you see what I see? Well, in case you don't, here, I'll show you. Behind the iron bars, we can see what appears to be a villager, which once again, I have a weird suspicion could be the speedrunner's friend that we saw all throughout the speedrun so far. Well, the speedrunner enters the end, and once they load in, they build up with hay bales and begin searching for the ender dragon. But the speedrunner runs up towards the ender dragon and hits it one time, which somehow kills it. I had no idea that sharpness 3000 was this OP. Well, now that the ender dragon is dead, the speedrunner jumps into the portal and finishes the speedrun with a time of 6 minutes and 24 seconds, giving them the new world record. If you enjoyed that video, I can almost guarantee you that you're gonna like this video as well. So if I were you, I would click it.